Well, good morning. Welcome back out to the Causeway Coast, and again I'm back on a little beach that I was on. Honestly, I'm not quite sure how many vlogs ago. Yeah, you might notice my speech is a bit today. Once again, I've forgotten my coffee, left it in the car. Do this all the time. Anyway, so I've come back up to this little local beach. We're still under sort of travel restrictions, so still keeping things very local. And even though I was here, well, for me it was last week. I'm not sure how long ago it would have been for you guys. I love exploring the same places over and over again. And one of the benefits that we have today compared to last week is it's a lower tide and it's an outgoing tide. So two of the things that affords me is, one, to get further up this beach. Last week this was mostly covered with water. And two, because it's an outgoing tide and it's a dawn outgoing tide, that should mean that there's not too many footprints in the sand, because of course that outgoing tide is cleaning that out. Now I've already seen one dog walker. I'm hoping that, you know, at least sunrise is probably about half an hour away. So I'm hoping at least first sort of 45 minutes we might get away with not too many footprints in the sand. Weather conditions slightly more subtle than they were last time, and I don't think we're going to get as dramatic conditions as we got, because I don't think there's too many weather systems moving off on the horizon. But nice subtle pinksy purpley dawn with some lovely wet sand reflection might be what we're looking for today. The other thing, again, just to talk about the tide, it is an outgoing tide, so we're not going to have a huge amount of time, but some lovely sort of rocks and things around this beach that if we get maybe the odd wave coming up around it could help things along as well. But in fact, speak of the devil, here comes one now. That's getting quite close. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Must have heard me talking. Okay then, so the odd tide or the odd wave will come up and perhaps give us some nice patterns around those jet black rocks. So yeah, it's about 20 minutes to sunrise. Because we don't have a huge amount of clouds directly above us, it'll be difficult to tell how much glow we're going to get off that wet sand, but we'll go for a bit of a dander, see whether we can set up something with these rocks and take it from there. So I was just playing about a little bit there with one of the little rocks, lovely sand patterns around here, and that's probably something I'll come up and do at some point, just the sand patterns. The problem with this scene here is, well, there's a couple of things. One, the skerries, which I think are just in scene there, aren't going to pick up any direct sunlight on them for a good, 20 minutes or so after sunrise, depending on how much clouds on the sunrise. I'm down a little dip here, but because we don't have any direct clouds above us, there's a few little ones starting to develop. There's no real reflective light being reflected down into the scene, and that's kind of making everything very just a bit washed out. So I think up until we start getting some direct sunlight, I think I'm better afforded shooting more of the reflected sands, which any reflected light that's coming in those wet sands is actually going to be magnified rather than concentrating on the rocks. But certainly one for a future date. The lovely sand patterns around here, they're just beautiful. Carry on seeing whether there's anything to be had. So it's quite a difficult shoot this morning for a number of reasons. I mean, it's lovely conditions. The problem is the conditions seem to be kind of spread out a little bit. So the best of the most atmospheric weather is kind of out to my right. There is a gorgeous, probably can't really see that there, but there's a gorgeous pink burst of cloud which is reflecting lovely in this little outflow here. There's some, as I said before, there's some lovely beach patterns, but none of it seems to be sort of tying together. So I think what I'm just thinking about is I'm just going to almost I'm not really sort of going to worry too much about focusing in on a really tight, nice composition. I might just shoot a lot of big sort of wide open spaces of nothing but the beach, the sea and the clouds. I think that's what I'm probably going to focus on now for the next couple of minutes, just while this sort of pre-sunrise and very early touches of sunrise light are developing. Lovely though. But yeah, the best of the weather is kind of out here, and I kind of wish that it was over to the Skerries. But hey, yeah, let's just some nice big, lovely, wide open vistas of that early morning light. It was okay. Now down here we get that potential second blast. The sun will rise over the visible horizon and might give us a little bit of conditions, but for that to really happen, things need to change dramatically. I thought for a moment we were going to get something. A little skift of rain moved over me and it started to kind of head out to sea, but then it dissipated. That might have brought us something, but I think one of the biggest issues was, you can probably sort of just make it out behind me if I darken things down a bit. Big issue is you've got this lovely band of weather, sort of almost in a 16:9, just above the horizon, but then not much above that. It just is clear blue sky, and that really doesn't work for the image at all. Which meant trying to sort of compose images that were more either a lot of the sand, or in that sort of thinking about a 60. I put the 16:9 crop factor on the Fuji just to sort of give me that visibility. We might get something with this second blast, but I don't think so. Now the other option I might have, I've got the 1:400 in the bag. While there's not a huge sort of swell going on, some of those waves out there don't look too bad. And one of the benefits of whenever that sun comes up, those crests of those waves take on a lovely sort of translucent glow, sort of golden. So that might be something to work on. As I say, I don't think we're going to get any weather. I mean, right now over the Skerries, there is some beautiful, what looks like weather, but because we don't have any sunlight on that, it's not producing any real sort of drama. But we still have that band of cloud, and then we just have the clear blue sky. Still not a bad morning to be out, as I always say. Busier than I thought it was going to be. As I say, another photographer there. We kind of nodded, kept our distance. It's funny how photographers do that. Kind of watched each other from a distance. Come and say hi. While we still have a little bit of that pink glow left, I might play about a little bit more with this little outflow here again. See whether I can get one or two images before we make a decision on what we're going to do once that sun breaks the visible horizon. We'll give this morning shoot a 5 out of 10. Very faint rainbow out there. Us photographers are a sucker for rainbows. Oh, looks like a double rainbow, no less. I feel like I should be running about going double rainbow. Just waiting for that curl of the wave. Oh, curl, 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 curl. Hit. What's a good one? Yeah. So basically, what I'm doing now is that rainbow's kind of developed. I've got the polarizer on, which is obviously allowing me to sort of further saturate those colours. Trying to keep the rainbow's obviously moving with the weather, so trying to keep it relatively centre in the frame. Now it's dissipating just a touch, but letting those waves curl, just start their curl over, and ideally there would be two sets of waves. In fact, there's quite a good one there. I'm going to fire off a few here. Oh yeah, there's a good curl. Oh, get it at the start, and then fire off the shutter just as that wave is kind of curling over, and it gives sort of quite a nice effect. I've got the polarizer on, and then to give me a slightly longer shutter speed, I've got the 4-stop ND on as well. Shooting waves is all a little bit hit and miss. You can kind of get into a bit of a sort of a knowledge of them, how they're sort of turning over, but you know, at the end of the day, you really are just at the mercy of Mother Nature, as is quite often the case. But you can tell that maybe if there would have been just a little bit of light on there, we would have got a little bit of drama, and of course, who doesn't like shooting a rainbow? But yeah, that was just all about keeping the rainbow nice and central in the frame if possible. Shooting just a normal, I'm actually shooting on the 16:9 crop still, but obviously shooting raw will give me the full 3:2 frame. The best of the drama out on the horizon is actually out sort of over the Giant's Causeway now. So what I might do is I might start kind of shooting that way, and you never know, we might get another nice rainbow. But what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to put the 1-400 on, just so I can start isolating some of those waves. So, got the 1-400 on. We hadn't had any direct sunlight on those crests of the waves yet, but now's the perfect time just to be, I wouldn't necessarily getting your eye in, because of course the waves could develop anywhere, although definitely the best ones seem to be over to my sort of right here. But really just getting accustomed to how the waves are turning over, what kind of works, what shutter speed works. I've still got the polarizer on, still got the 4-stop on. Play about a little bit with that on and off with the 4-stop, just to sort of capture the energy rather than having too much of a rolling wave. But of course, once that sun comes up, the exposure will naturally get faster anyway. So still a little bit of a rainbow out here as well. It keeps coming and going. So hopefully, we now just want to wait for a little bit of light on those waves. I was trying a little bit of working out with the 1-400 with a silhouette of Dunluce Castle and a bit of energy sort of passing through, and again that might work depending on how the sun illuminates Dunluce in a moment. But still some big old waves up there. So most of the bigger waves are definitely up this way, so this is where we're going to be facing, so just wait and see. I can start to see first of the sun on the tops of the waves to my left, way down the beach, and I can also start to see a little bit of light on the Skerry. So looks like, I mean, I obviously can't see the horizon, but it looks like the sun has actually broken through any cloud that was on there. So maybe another couple of minutes and we'll be able to start firing off some shots. And again, this is all going to be like hit and miss, whether or not it works or not. But I thought while I was here, throw on the 1-400 and see. To be honest, it's going to be better when the waves up here are getting hit, and you might even get a little bit of light on the far causeway as well, which might actually make a shot, especially as I'm looking at it at 16:9 again, just because there is a little bit of weather, a little bit of cloudage above the causeway. So yep, looks like we're in business. So we're not getting a huge amount of light on those crests just yet. Lovely light down here, and having seen the light on these crests down here, I'm not sure I want too much direct sunlight on them, so maybe just at the very start of that sort of light coming through. At the moment there's also a lovely sort of band of fluffy white clouds sort of above the waves, and I'm trying to incorporate those into the scene as well. Just a little sort of other dynamic to the whole sort of white horses on the sea. It is really cold. It's about probably, I think I said it feels like temperature 2 degrees, and I'm back wearing my overly priced Valorette gloves that are not very warm. I think my cable release has died, which is why I'm firing kind of not ideal, but I don't really want to do the 2-second timer, so I'm just hoping that they're going to be sharp enough. Took a bit of a tumble the other day, the whole camera system did. I'm really annoyed that my cable release has stopped working, because it's going to be hit and miss whether these are going to be sharp enough. What seems to work best is when there's a kind of a double, maybe even a triple wave going on. That kind of adds just a little bit of depth. And I think what works best as well is, and I think I said this before the wave really sort of splashes down. I think when the wave splashes down, you get a little bit too much just bright white. You kind of wanted that sort of dark, sort of turning over, with just maybe the odd sort of bit of white fleck through. That rainbow was still there. It's kind of gone away now. Another rainbow down here as well, actually. Wow, way down the other end of the beach. I'm going to suggest, given the fact that the crests of waves that were illuminated by the early morning sun have now gone dull again, that behind me there's a bank of cloud that I can't see. There's still light over on the causeway, but not here. I might call that quits. I still think it's a 5 out of 10 shoot, which is fine. That's a lovely rainbow down there. Yeah, I think I'll call it quits. And also given the fact that I forgot my coffee this morning, I'm in dire need of something to warm me up. Still lovely to get out though, as always. Thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, take care. Bye bye.